Today I'm here with my aunt, and she is a survivor of communism. So she's been nice enough to give us a little bit of her time, and she's going to be answering some questions about what it was like living in Cuba. So, first, give an introduction, your name, where you're from.
Mhm. So my name is Ibis Sanabria is my last name, and I am from Cuba, and I lived there for 18 years. That's the first 18 years of my life, and now I'm here for 37 years. So now you know my age.
That's okay, you look great. um, so, growing up in Cuba, what was that like exactly, like for everyday life, like getting food, getting clothes, going to school, people going to work? What was the average person's life like?
That's a very good question. The average person is everybody. Because everybody is more or less the same. We all live under the same rules, under the same lifestyle, and so for instance, in terms of food, we have food rationing. So I live all of my life when I was there, and up to today, there's that still exists in Cuba. It's a little card like this where you have your allowance. So I'll go to the store and get my allowance for the day for the family. So it was, for instance, we had like one egg. In the good times, we have one egg per day per person. And then in later times, because everything got worse as time went by, right now you don't have that allowance anymore, so you cannot have the by the time when I was there, when I was living in Cuba, I could have like one chicken, for instance, to eat. I would go to the store and get it for my grandma. I still remember, and for my family it was one per family, right? Per family, I think it was per week, but right now that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. I have to send food to my family in Cuba right now if I want them to have, if I want them to eat anything other than just a very plain, you know, just rice. If I want them to eat anything other than some rice, I have to send them food and money. And in terms of school, that's actually one of the things that impacted me the most, because at the age of 12, I had no choice whatsoever. If I wanted to continue studying, you're 12 years old, so you have to go into sixth grade, 6 or 7, I don't know. And the only choice was to be a boarding school. I have to intern at the age of 12, and that was really bad. It was not a good experience. But that's the free education that we got. It's not free. I can tell you all about it. It's absolutely not free. They take your mind, they take your youth, and from the moment that you go to school, like on the first day that you go to school, when you're 5 years old, you have your the indoctrination begins. The indoctrination begins. So up to today, I can recite the things that they taught me when I was 5, 6, and growing up. There were certain things that they say that we have to memorize, and it was just all in support of the Communist Party. And whoever didn't know that, have some reprimands. So yeah, the school is very interesting, and I know that all over the world, the propaganda is that it's, oh wow, it's great. Education in Cuba is great. It's so good. It's free. It's not free. It's not free. It's a big cost. The cost is your mind, your life. I'm physically, I had to work in the morning and in the afternoon school. That's when I was in the intern. No, in the boarding school. That's what you call it, boarding school. So I lived there. A very traumatic experience. uh, but yeah, that's a free education, and I can tell you more about the education.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the like pro-communist groups. They say like, oh yeah, in Cuba you get like free medical school if you want to be a doctor. Okay, but what else? What else is great about Cuba? Nothing really.
Yeah, and actually, that's one of the things that is one of the lies that they spread. Or it is true that it's free. You go to medical school for free, But the cost, there's always a cost. What is the cost? The cost is after you graduate to medical school, you are forced, there's no other choice. You're forced to work for the government. And the government pays you the equivalent. This is today, like right now. My cousin in Cuba, who is a doctor, she's a dentist. So right now she makes the equivalent of $20 a month. That's what she makes. And on top of that, so she doesn't have medicine to do the dental treatments. I have to send the anesthesia for her to do some of the dental work for my family, and some of the it's just that they're not equipped at all. And besides, when you graduate from medicine, you're forced to work also. You have to do something that's called I don't know how to translate it, but anyways, the bottom line is that you go to another country to serve and to give free service, and this is with the purpose of bring the ideas of the Communist Party abroad. So you're not only bringing the medicine, you're also bringing the ideas, and you're supposed to spread the good work of communism. So yeah, you do get to be a doctor, if and but it's not, but you like right now, if you're a doctor in Cuba, you don't have medicine to prescribe. You have to get the medicine from somewhere else. And yeah, then you may have some people say, oh, but my family went to Cuba and she had a surgery and everything was fine. Yes, because there's two type of hospitals for the people that live in Cuba, for the Cuban population, and hospital for the foreigners, for people that has dollars and come to Cuba and they have treatments. So there's two type of there's a two tier medical system. And the Cuban doctors, many times they end up working as taxi drivers. They end up working as anything other than a doctor, because they cannot make a decent living as a doctor. Mm-hmm.
So even under the supposed perfect communist system, there's still a class. There's still divided classes between the tourists who get the good medical treatment and then the regular people who are living there under the regime.
Absolutely.
So it's still a lie.
Yeah, that's one of the initial things that they told us. They told my parents, for instance, in 1959, when the Cuban regime took power, when Castro took the power by force. By the way, he took the power by force, and he never did the elections that he promised people that he would do. Elections, free elections. There was never elections. This is from 1959 to now, so we're talking about 67 years with the same regime. By the way, so it's a lie. It's a lie that everybody's going to be equal. Well, there's one thing that is true. Everybody's equally poor. I tell you that. Everybody's equally poor. Everybody's equally miserable. And it was a big lie. It was a big lie.
So did people, once that the regime took over, and slowly people start to realize that it is a lie,
Mm-hmm.
did people try to take back their power? I know there's a history with your father. So yeah. What happens when people try to get back into a capitalist system? How hard is it to go back to capitalism?
It's been impossible. It's been 67 years, and it's been impossible, because the first things that they did after they took power, other than not do elections, was to make everything owned by the government. So everything, the first thing they take is the media, radio, TV, all of that got taken from private hands by force and put into the state. So now the government owns the media. This is 1959 all the way to 1965. They were in the process of making everything owned by the government. And to this day, everything is owned by the government, and everything is being destroyed. So they took the factories. They took the sugar industry was really big in Cuba. They took that over from private hands, and they turned it into their own property. And now it's all destroyed. Literally, like my dad went back to Cuba to see some of the places that he remembers from his youth and whatever, and everything is destroyed. Really, really destroyed. They destroy what they got for free, you know. So my dad was one that when he was young, he was only in his early 20s, very young. He sympathized with the Castro's ideas. He thought that this was great, that they were going to have free elections. The Castro initial ideas was free elections, and they're going to not have any more of the previous regimen, which is being, bad. And so he helped them and whatever. And when he saw him and many of his friends, when they saw that it was all a lie, that they were turning against the people that helped them come to power, and they were not doing elections, and they were, whoever had different idea was being taken to jail, he too opposed the regime. His way of opposing, he was very young, he was 23, 24, and when he began opposing. And so he began opposing, this is maybe 1964, 62. So he began opposing the regime, and he was sent to, the only thing he did was propaganda. He was helping spread propaganda that, of what was happening and all of that. And he was taken to jail, and the sentence was 30 years. It was 30 years, and many of the colleagues and friends that that were doing similar things like him, opposing. They were just saying, okay, let's do free elections. Let's not. And they were trying to take Castro out of power. And they were all taken to jail, and many of them were killed in paredon. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's really like they were killed like execution style against a wall. Everybody was killed, and these were young people, these were doctors, these were students, these were clergymen. And so, and up to today, like fast forward into today, I don't want to make it too long. Fast forward to today, up to today, if anybody had just the thought that is opposing to the PCC, which is the Cuban Communist Party, if you're just opposing them in any way, shape, or form, you are very likely to end up in jail. And up to today, you can look it up, and there's about at least 1,000 political prisoners in Cuba, and they are undergoing really, really bad treatment. Not only are they in jail, but they're tortured. Yeah, it's really bad. So it's not easy. Once that system takes over, it's not easy to get rid of it. It's not easy to get rid of it because they little by little take over everything. They take over everything. So now it's very hard to
take over the means of production, if that sounds familiar. This is a quote from the new mayor or incoming mayor of New York. He has said that he wants to take over the means of production. I don't know how he's thinking he's going to accomplish that, but these are some of the things that he has said. What are your thoughts on the fact that New York has made such a huge mistake?
It's scary. It's very unsettling to see that people are even considering such ideals for a free society that we have, But it's just a lot of misinformation out there, and all I can tell New Yorkers is to, take a look at how Cubans are living, how Venezuelans are living, how Nicaraguan people are living. Read a little bit about what happens in China if you're somebody that opposes the Chinese party, so Communist Party, that is. So yeah, take a look at what's happening there. If you visit any of these places, don't just go to the beach and to the touristic places. Go just I challenge you, go just 2 blocks, or just to go to the next town to the tourist place that they're advertising for. So for instance, you go to Havana, of course, the old Havana, the center is literally prepared for tourists to see. They paint the facades. It's like a stage. And then you go like few blocks inside, and you see the real, how the real Cuban lives, and how they have to make ends meet with, being a doctor, you make $20. Being a teacher, you make maybe $15. I don't know, 10. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just they cannot count on the money that they make. They cannot count on that. And remember, they were told many years ago, and for all of their lives now. For some people have had all of their life under this regimen.
Yeah.
They were told that it was all going to be, you know, they were going to have so many opportunities and free, and everybody was going to be equal, and everybody was going to have access to everything. And now you have access to nothing. There's nothing to have access to. They're destroyed everything. Yeah. So sorry if I'm too passionate, but
no,
this is
fine.
very close to my
No,
heart.
you're doing great. I mean, I'm
very
learning
close.
new
This
things
is very
too.
close to my.
So it's interesting that you say you give a challenge for people to go to these communist countries and see how people really live, because there was a recent video with Hassan Piker,
Mm-hmm.
and he has said that the United States deserved 9/11, and he's a pro-communist, and he went to China to try to promote the communist government, and he was arrested.
Yeah.
So I just think that that's funny because
that doesn't surprise me at all. That doesn't surprise me at all. Like people that go to Cuba to make videos and to record the life of normal Cubans, they have to do it in hiding. They have to pretend, and they have to hide. And my dad was actually on one very few visit that he went back to Cuba. He was recording one of the sugar, because we live in an area that's close to the country, to the sugar mills and stuff. So he went there to record. How do you say the factory where they process the sugar?
The warehouse?
Oh, where you process. Oh, anyways, it's
plant?
a factory, the plant where you process the sugar, and it was destroyed. So he was curious about it, and he was recording it with his camera. And then when he came back to his family house that he was visiting, the police was there waiting for him. Yeah, they were there waiting for him. They confiscated his camera. They confiscated his passport. This is he's going back to Cuba just to see his family and come right back to Miami, right? So he's just a visitor. He's nothing to do with government of anywhere, not the United States, not nothing. He's just there visiting family. And just because he was recording, and he had a big ordeal, the interview, confiscated the passport. It was like a true mental torture, because this is they're implying that there's something wrong, and maybe they're gonna keep him there. Because when we travel to Cuba, which I have never traveled back to Cuba, but I have family there, and I get all the information I need. I don't go for political reasons, but anyways, he got interrogated, intimidated. So, and this is just visiting. So yeah, if you go, you may have somebody following you if you have a camera. So be careful.
And what do you think about people who are making the claim that Trump is a dictator? That if they get imprisoned or sent to jail and then let go, many of them, they get sent to jail and then released like the same day. These people who are protesting ICE and saying that Trump is a dictator, what do you have to say to that?
With all respect, they don't know what a dictator is. They don't know what a dictatorship is, and they don't know what a dictator is. A dictator is somebody that first came to power, like Castro. He did not get elected. Trump got elected with over 80 million votes. So Castro is a dictator. It's an example. The Castro regime. Castro died already, 2016. But his brother was appointed to be by the government, by the PCC, by the Communist Party, appointed to follow. And then after the brother became too old, somebody else got appointed. So there's never been elections. That's a dictator. He's been in power for 67 years. If you oppose him, he takes you to jail, and you don't see the light of the light for years, and you're tortured. And so one of the things they do when you're a dictator, the first thing you do is you don't have a right to protest. You just don't have a right. no peaceful, nowhere. There's no right to protest. Now they tell you that you have a right to protest, but you don't. The only thing that you can do is um, you can express yourself in favor of the government, and this is actually encouraged, and this is actually sometimes you're forced to do it. Okay, so no, in no way, shape, or form, Trump or the Trump administrator is a dictator. You know, he got elected by the majority of people, and if he was a dictator, you know, a lot of people would be in jail.
Um, and very briefly, can you go over your first impressions coming to the United States and then how you became so successful? You're very successful in the real estate business here in Florida, and a real testament to what happens when you work hard and you set goals and you don't let anything stop you. So just very briefly go over all of that if you can. If it's not brief, it's okay too.
um, you know, I think it helped a lot, and it helps not only me but a lot of Cubans. And by the way, we have a lot of Cuban Americans in Congress. The Secretary of State, it's Cuban American. His name is Marco Rubio. He's from Miami. Um, a lot of successful Cuban Americans. But anyways, I am not Cuban American. I'm Cuban, and and no, it just helped me, I think, to be appreciative. I embraced the culture. The minute I got here, I was really appreciative to be free and for my father to be free. I'm very thankful that the United States, you know, petitioned for Cuban prisoners to be free. Of course, the government of Cuba requested some demands from the U.S. so that those prisoners that came in with my dad got released. But whatever, I was very appreciative and just embraced the culture, embraced the opportunities. You know, I was amazed to see when I got here that I could just choose any career that I wanted and go to the state school and get my real free education without having to, you know, sell my mind to any particular political party. I was amazed to see that there was that I had choices. Just the fact that I could choose between one party or the other you know, all of that was very inspiring for me. And I just had very clear in my mind that I had to prosper because I wanted my we came here with $0, zero, and negative zero, like I said, negative number. So yeah, no, I just knew that I had to make it, and I chose a career that helped me make it, you know. But I attributed a lot to the environment, you know, to the fact that I was in a free society and a place that I could study, and then I can choose to either work for somebody and do my own business. And I did work for somebody else first, learn the trade, learn real estate sales and investing, and then move on to owning my own business, which is what I had a passion for. And yeah, it was just you know, stay consistent in one thing if you can, and it doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's moving forward and you're making progress and making progress. You know, it works. It's gonna work at some point.
Yeah. Yep. So any final thoughts or messages for the youth right now, that it seems like the country is really divided and there is this push for like communist propaganda? They call them socialists, but it seems just to be really popular. And any message towards that, but then also how do we get people to realize that it is a lie, other than what you said about going to these countries and seeing how average people
actually,
work,
yeah, you
or
don't,
how they live.
yeah, you don't even have to go to a country to know, because there's so many immigrants here that you can talk to. You know, like for instance, the population of Cuba is about 11 million, and we have the immigration, the people that have that are in exile, that are outside of Cuba, it's about 2 million, about, could be, I don't know the exact number, but that's the last time I checked. So we're talking about 20% of the population. So you have Cubans everywhere. And if you know, and that's only one example, Venezuelans, there's Colombians, there's just Nicaraguans, Chinese people, people from North Korea, I mean, from China. If you can interview, if you can talk to any of those people, you can see what they live through, and you can see that it's not what you're going to realize that it's not what you want for you, for your family, for your country. You know, it's really a total lie. It's a total lie. It doesn't work. It has been proven that doesn't work. Think back to in the 80s, when East Germany came to realize that they were thrilled to join West Germany. So it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I tell you, we are over 1 million Cubans that live here in Miami, and we literally have to support economically the 10 million that are in Cuba. And so you see people like jumping in raft, people risking their life to the sharks, because Cuba, as you know, of course, an island in the middle of the Caribbean Sea and 90 miles from Miami. So people just jump in whatever makeshift raft they can make and come to here. So a lot of struggle to come here. Here in the United States, you have a lot of people that own boats, and you don't see anybody taking a boat and going to Miami, to Cuba. No. And we're only like 3-4 hours by boat. Okay. So no, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. It has been proven that doesn't work. Take Venezuela as a perfect example. Venezuela used to be this very prosperous country. They're a major producer of oil. And they are now in ruins. There's a big Venezuelan community here in Miami too. There's a city called Doral. It's almost, it's like 80% Venezuelan exile immigrants. Okay, legal or illegal, whatever, they're immigrants. So this community of Venezuelans are living through the same thing that a community of Cubans are living through. They have to support economically the people that they left behind, because the communist regime has destroyed their wealth, has destroyed their lives, and they don't even have toilet paper. They don't even have toilet paper. It's just like in Cuba. Oh, toilet paper is a luxury in Cuba. So yeah, no, say no to communism. It doesn't work. It has been proven that doesn't work. This system that we have here is not perfect. We know that it's not perfect, but it's very good. It's like not even compares to communism. It's like ridiculous to even compare it. It's my take.
Thank you so much for
No,
your
and
time.
thank you too. Thank you too. Thank you. It's a pleasure.